Should I get an inspection before I list, or is that just opening up a can of worms? That's a real question I get from sellers quite often, and honestly, the concern makes total sense. A lot of sellers have heard a version of the idea that a pre-listing inspection can scare off potential buyers, or worse, give them ammunition to beat you up on the price. But like most things in real estate, the answer isn't just a simple yes or no. A pre-listing inspection can be a really good idea, or it can be a really bad one. It all depends on how you use it. My name is Jonathan Van Gassen. I'm a local realtor in Sarnia, Ontario, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through this question the same way I do with my potential sellers. Think of a pre-listing inspection like opening up the hood of your car before you try and sell it. You're not doing it because you're expecting something to be wrong. You're doing it because you don't want to be surprised later when the buyer does it for you. Because here's the thing, every single buyer is going to inspect the home, whether it's formally or through the showings and the walkthroughs. So the real question isn't will issues come up, it's do you want to discover them on your timeline or the buyer's. When a pre-listing inspection is done properly and used properly, it gives you control. Control over the timing, control over the decisions, and control over how the home is presented to the market. Now, a really important point to make here is that a pre-listing inspection shouldn't be done last minute. If you're planning to list a home in 2 weeks and you book an inspection for tomorrow, that's not a strategy, that's just added stress. My recommendation is to always do the pre-listing inspection well before the planned listing date. Why? Not because the goal is to fix everything, but the goal is to understand what might affect a buyer's decision. And from there, you get to choose. Maybe there's a small electrical issue that's inexpensive to fix and easy to document. Probably worth addressing. Maybe the furnace is older and it still works fine, but it isn't new. That's probably something that's worth disclosing instead of replacing. You're not trying to create the perfect house, you're trying to present the best version of your home to the market with a budget that you're comfortable with. And this is where pre-listing inspections often go wrong. Some sellers just do the inspection, drop the full report on the counter, and tell the buyers, here you go. There's no context, no explanation, and no proof if anything even got fixed or addressed. And that's where the horror stories come from. Because if a buyer sees a report with a long list of issues, even normal ones, that's where fear creeps in and they start imagining worst case scenarios. They sometimes don't know what really matters and what doesn't, and their brain starts to fill the gaps. And suddenly, instead of creating confidence, the report created doubt. So that's why I definitely don't recommend doing the inspection and just handing the report over and hoping for the best. What does work is using it as a confidence builder, and this is what that looks like in practice. We do the inspection, we review the report together, and then we decide which items make sense to address before we list. And then this is the key. We document it. Invoices, receipts, photos to prove that it's been done, and warranties if applicable. So now when the buyer sees the report, they're not just seeing problems, they're seeing solutions, and they're seeing a seller who paid attention, one who was proactive and took care of the home. And that changes the entire tone of the conversation. Instead of a buyer thinking, oh, what else is wrong here? It becomes, oh, this home is solid. And that feeling matters way more than sellers realize. Because buyers don't just buy houses, they buy confidence, especially in today's market. Right now, a lot of buyers are shooting their shot. Low offers, aggressive conditions, and big asks after the inspection. But when a home is priced accurately and supported by a pre-inspection and proof of repairs, it becomes much easier to justify our listing price. You're no longer defending the numbers emotionally, you're supporting it logically. Here's the condition, here's what's been addressed, and here's why the price makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean that every offer is going to be perfect, but it often does lead to cleaner negotiations and fewer surprises. And another benefit is that the deal doesn't fall apart late in the process. After the showings, after the offer, and after sometimes weeks of back and forth. Usually because something big came up during the buyer's home inspection. And that's exhausting, can be expensive, and it's definitely emotionally draining. To me, it makes way more sense to get ahead of those issues early on your terms rather than getting 99% of the way there and having it all fall apart on the finish line. Transparency creates a much healthier environment, not because everything is perfect, but because everybody knows what they're walking into. So, what do you think? Are pre-inspections a good idea or a bad idea? I would say yes, if they're done early, if they're used strategically, and they're paired with context and proof that things have been addressed. But no, they're not if they're just done for the sake of doing it and dropping a report on the buyers without any context. That can absolutely backfire. The real goal is simple. Put the best product that you reasonably can on the market, give buyers confidence, and create conditions for quality offers, not just any offer. So if you're thinking about selling, the takeaway here is this. A pre-listing inspection isn't about finding problems, it's about removing uncertainty. When used properly, it gives you leverage, clarity, and control instead of surprises. Now, if you live in the Sarnia area and you want a deeper walkthrough of how I help sellers through this process, you can book a call with me with the link in the description below. Or if you just want a general idea and you're not quite ready to pull the trigger, I've got my seller's guide link below as well. Thanks for watching.